Hello there and welcome. So I had a message on Instagram some time ago from a lady who was saying that she found it interesting that I view high sensitivity as a neurodivergence. And so at the time it wasn't, it was a very busy time and I just didn't have it in me to go into all the ins and outs, but I did say that I would put something together. So I thought I would share my thoughts really on this topic. So before we get stuck in, if you are brand new, my name is Nicola. I'm a yoga teacher, yoga therapist, and a highly sensitive and also neurodiverse person myself. And I like to share information, tools, techniques for people that are highly sensitive and neurodiverse who are looking to feel better in themselves, to overcome challenges such as overwhelm, anxiety, and so on, so that they can live as themselves without trying to hide themselves away or mask or cover it up, to people please, be perfectionists, just so that we can be ourselves and let our truly wonderful gifts shine. So let's get stuck in then. Now let's start with high sensitivity itself, which, if you're not sure, is characterized by things such as deeply processing things, whether that's in bed at night having crazy vivid dreams. Your brain, if you're a highly sensitive person, will be doing more at rest than a typical person, but also you might be prone to overthinking. So that quality of really deeply processing and thinking and getting stuck into things at a deeper layer. We are often looking for meaning. We're often the seekers that are looking to kind of figure things out. We probably don't enjoy small talk. We want to get to those deep and meaningful conversations. So that's one element of being highly sensitive. Another element, which does have similarities with other types of neurodivergence, is this idea of the senses becoming overwhelmed and overstimulated. So for me, my hearing and my sense of touch tend to be the most sensitive, although I am sensitive all around in every sense of the word, but they are the ones that are prone to overstimulation. If I'm not careful, if I'm in a loud environment, I will need quite possibly a whole day to recover. But yeah, choosing clothes is an issue. I could easily get overstimulated by rough clothing, uncomfortable clothing. So there's that element. Now, with high sensitivity, another quality is this enhanced empathy, or this, really deeply feeling other people's things. This is more than sympathizing or showing compassion for. This is feeling another's pains, joys, sorrows, etc., as if it was your own. And then the final thing is this being able to notice the small things. And I have a friend who is excellent at spotting tiny little things. She's so good at it. She's the one to turn to if you can't find anything. But for other highly sensitive people, it could be something else. So for me, I really notice tiny little changes in a person's facial expression or body language or tone of voice so acutely. Most people wouldn't, notice. And this, quite annoyingly to my husband, is what I think enables me to predict what's going to happen in a film or a TV program. He just doesn't know how I do it. He thinks I'm some kind of, witch, I think, trying to, predict or seeing the future of these programs. But really, it's part of this picking up on very small details. So that's kind of an overview of high sensitivity. There's lots more to it. But crucially, being a highly sensitive person is outside of the majority. It's a minority group. The jury is still slightly out as to the exact percentage, but it's somewhere between 15 and 30% of the population, of the human population. It is a constant, normal, natural trait. It's not a disorder. And it's also found in other other mainly mammals populations too. So it's like I think it's part of, the way it's explained is it's part of the evolution of a population, because it's valuable to have members of the population that are good at these kinds of things. Now, neurodiversity then, or neurodivergence, it's an umbrella term for that encompasses those of us whose experiences, behaviours, mental functions, capacities, traits, etc. fall outside of the typical, which I think is a charged term in itself. But let's just go with it. In this way, then, being highly sensitive is a neurodivergence. It is outside of what is typical. And this is well researched now. There's lots of evidence to tell us that people who are highly sensitive have differences in their brain function and structure. I've talked about mirror neurons before. There's different or usually greater activation in areas of the brain that concern attention, emotional processing, meaning making, so those areas that apply meaning to certain things. There's also some genetic differences which show us that the way certain neurotransmitters are processed in the brain is different in highly sensitive people too. So we know that this is both a physiological difference as well as in our behaviour. And so once again, it's outside the typical, although it is still normal and natural, but it is a neurodivergence. And isn't this wonderful that we have this as humans, that we have these different types of people, these different qualities about ourselves? Now, one thing that I wanted to mention on this is that I think there might be some reluctance in some pockets of the highly sensitive community that is resistant to taking on this term of neurodiversity or neurodivergence, because the way I see it and the way I've experienced it too is there's still so much stigma attached to other neurodivergences. Autism, for example, ADHD, sensory processing, which is often not even acknowledged. And the stigma is attached to it, I believe, because those kind of differences are seen as disorders. Whereas high sensitivity, right from the word go, when Elaine Aron, started doing the really brilliant work in this area, was quite loud about it not being a disorder, it not being something that is a problem. It just is a normal, natural trait. And I totally agree. But autism, ADHD, etc. is still seen as a disorder, it's a problem. It's still a diagnosable disorder. All of them are still diagnosable disorders within the DSM. And so there is this difference. And so there may be this resistance through not really wanting to be associated with other traits, other types of neurodivergence that are seen as a mental disorder, essentially. This is a really sensitive topic and one that I feel quite emotional about it myself, which I'll talk more about in a separate video. But the one thing I wanted to say on this really is that we have this human desire to box things up in a nice, neat little package. And my experience of neurodiversity is that whilst you can be neurodiverse and outside of the typical, we are not as simple or straightforward or neat as a label or a box. Humans are really complex, and there's overlaps and there's similarities and differences and merging and all kinds of different things where we can't really just say, oh, I'm this, end of story. And maybe some people do fit neatly into those boxes, but a lot of us will not do. So I just wanted to raise that. And I'll end by saying that the key thing really, if you are a highly sensitive person and you resonate with some of those characteristics that I spoke about, is to know that being highly sensitive is a neurodivergence. It is normal, it is natural. But to acknowledge that being neurodivergent or neurodiverse means that your self-care and the way you look out after yourself, what you need, is likely to be different to a neurotypical person and needs to be shaped to your beautiful, unique self. And that's the work that I'm really passionate about, my yoga therapy practice. It's what I have worked on for myself. It's what I work on with my children who are also neurodiverse, and with my clients. So yeah, I think I will leave it there. I would really love to hear your experiences of being highly sensitive perhaps, or your thoughts on neurodiversity, and maybe other labels too. What's your feeling of being a highly sensitive person? Have you suspected there may be more to you? Do you resonate with some of the other neurodivergent types that I talked about? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if this video is helpful, I would really appreciate you liking it and maybe sharing it with someone that might find it interesting or useful. And please consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this. But also I deliver yoga practices for the season, specifically for highly sensitive and neurodiverse people, and meditations and other bits and pieces for self-care, so that we as highly sensitive and neurodiverse people can thrive. Okay, that's it from me. Take care for now, and I will see you on the next video.